Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Welcome to all the guests. Rabbi Isai, here we go. Gishmake stuff today. We're holding 7 lines from the bottom of Daf Beis, Amud Beis. Yesterday, we had a little bit of a sugya. We're finishing up that part of it. And that is, we discussed in the Mishnah, if somebody has a bad thought, he thinks that instead of it being an oila, he's bringing a carbon oila. Instead of an oila, he says he's bringing, did I do the rest? No, yeah. Instead of an oila, he said he's going to bring a shlamim. Instead of oila, shlamim. So that's a negative. Instead of oila, shlamim. So we asked the question, what happens if it's not a negative? It's a neutral thought, zero thought, stam. The halacha is, by carbon, zero, neutral is okay, but by a get, neutral is not okay. That's what we established yesterday. Now, how do we know this? How do we know that halacha by get? Typical fashion, classic. We're going to go through 5 possible sources. 4 of them we're going to knock off, and the final one, as usual, is the right one. We got to get the stomach pasul minolan. How do we know by a get that a neutral thought, writing a get without any intent for a specific woman, is not good? Not good. Perhaps because it says in the Mishnah. So we're going to have some very cool cases here. You happen to be walking down the street, and he hears, out of the window, he hears them announcing that so-and-so is divorcing so-and-so. We're talking about, Rashi says even in the beginning of the sugi, we're talking about a place that teaches people how to write, safros. So they're saying, oh, he's teaching him. So that's a stam get, and it just happened to be his name. There's some very popular names out there. For instance, in Eretz Yisrael, maybe the Cohen, probably the most popular name in Eretz Yisrael. David Cohen, Moshe Cohen, and then you take Sarah. So you have Moshe Cohen divorcing Sarah. Perfect. And they're just writing, and he happens to be listening. He wants to use it. Is that a good get? This is wow. Kiss from Hashem. Unbelievable. Mechaven. Pasul garish boy. No, it's not a good get. So what do you see? That stam a get that was written without any intent, a neutral intent is pasul. Says the Gemara, no. What's the raya? Dilma k'de Rav Papa. Rav Papa, well, what's the big chiddush over here? Chiddush is, we knew that we're talking about, Rashi says we're talking about a place that they're writing Gittin to learn. But the point the Rav Papa is making is that it's not written for a get, it's written for a joke. If it's written for a get, just as neutral, there's no person in mind, okay. It's written for a get, just it doesn't have the intent for Sarah. But it's written for a get, L'Shem Krisus. Over it's nothing, it's just people practicing writing, 3rd graders. So definitely, that's not a good get. Elamahal, we're holding an hour daf today. Yes, sir, okay, even more so. Now we have a case, Kosav L'Garis Ishtoy. He did have intent for a get. It was a real get. V'nimlach. But he didn't divorce her. Kosav L'Garis Ishtoy v'nimlach b'tzoy ben iri v'amar lo yishmi k'shimcha v'shem ishti k'shem ishlecha. Pasul L'Garis boy. You cannot use that as a get. Why? Because it was written for a different woman. So you see that you need So over here we do have a case where it was written L'Shem Gerushin. So why can I use it? It's not like the case over there with the kids learning how to write. Says the Gemara, Dilma Shani Yasin, the reason why you can't use it, the integrate L'Shem Gerushin Dahu, it was disconnected already. It went to another couple. That's why, because it was a negative. I'm looking for a case where there's a neutral get. Where's their neutral get? Elma. Oh, here's the case. Yes, okay. Yesh Shtei Noshim. Rabbi Isai. Here we're filling in all the stuff. He has 2 wives, so the get is written for a get. It's written for the same names. Sheshmeisayim, Shavais. He married. Listen, Rabbi, if you're going to marry 2 women, make sure they're not the same name. It's impossible. Like you used to call one, they both come. It's not good. They have the same name. If he had in mind, the husband is for sure the same, the wife's name is the same, but she's the older one. He had in mind for the older one. You're not allowed to use it for the younger one. So you see that you need kavanah. Says Gemara, again, same kind of answer. It's Pashut answer. Because he said that it's going to be specifically for the older one. So he already disconnected the get. Intik is lashon from linatek, to disconnect. The get was already made for special for the older one. So therefore you can't use it for the younger one. Elama, another one. Yeser al kain. Another, even more than this. You know what? You write. I have two wives with the same name. Write my name. Write one name, Sarah. I'm going to test them out. We're going to do a test. The better wife over the weekend is the one that stays. I can only afford one. I'll decide later. Pasal garish boy. Why is pasal garish boy? Lemaisa, the get was written without intent. So you see that without intent for a specific woman is pasal. Says Gemara, Dil Moshani Hasam, the Ein Breira. So we know this concept that's called retroactive clarification in the art scroll. Basically, if I decide tomorrow, I write the get on Sunday, but on Monday I decide which one of my wives I'm divorcing. So retroactively, it comes out that he wrote the get on Sunday for that particular wife. It was the older wife. He wrote it on Sunday for, it was retroactive clarified that it's the older wife. He doesn't hold a breira. Not everybody holds a breira. Elamaha. HaKoisef tafsei gitin tzarch sheniach mokam ish, or mokam isha, or mokam edim, or mokam hazman. You know, you go to the store and you buy a ready-made ksuba, a ready-made tanoim. So you get a template. The whole get is ready, but here, let me show you what a get looks like real quickly, because there's a tairif and a taifas. A tairif is the upper part with important information about the person's name, the place he lives, etc. The taifas, the blue part, is what everybody uses. Leave out the name of the wife and the husband. Why? Because if you put it in there, then it's a stam get. The stam get is what he called is possible. And that's it. That's our raya. That if a person is writing a template, don't put in a name, because the name, even if you don't have any intent for anyone, and you're trying to do like these keychains they sell in the store, right? Lined up. You could get Noam, you could get Avi, you could get Yankiv, Moshe, whatever. So you you'll guess a bunch of names. Moshe and David and Chana, and maybe you'll get lucky. You won't have to write a get. No, you're not allowed to do that, because then it's a stam get without lishma, and a get without lishma is possible. Okay. Zog the Gemara. So yesterday we had that Ravina tells Rav Papa, where were you? You mamish, you missed one of the best shiurim ever. Friday night, Rava, he contradiction this way, and he answered contradiction that way. Another, what's the other contradiction? Rav says that if you take a chatos and you shecht it as an oila, it's possible. But if you say you take it and you shecht it in mind to eat steaks on a barbecue, nothing to do with the Beis Hamikdash, kshera. Why? Alma, the mina macharva. If it's the same family, it's like min b'minoi, so to speak. Not a good mashal, but interesting similarity. Same min destroys it. It's terrible. The lav mina loy macharva. If I say chulin, when I'm talking about a carbon, it's not the same. How do you say min in English?
Category.
Species, but category. We'll use category, it's a much better word. It's not the same category. Loy machriv. It doesn't do anything to it. Very meaning. So let me ask you a question. Call a get. If I write a get, this is not important to us. Without the intent for this woman, it's possible. Now, this is what we're looking for. I feel the Shem Goya. Even if the get was written to a Goya, she's a different min. She's a different category. Nami possible. It's possible. Why? It's a different category. You just told me if it's a different category, it doesn't ruin anything. So it should be kosher. Mishani, simple answer. Get dal goya minei haveli stama. If you remove, you pretend the goy isn't here. She's not here. It's not the same min. You're right, it's not the same min. Okay, not the same min, and therefore what? She doesn't exist. Doesn't exist, haveli stama. So then it's a simple get without intent. And we just established the stama, possible. Forget the goya. You're right. The goya is a different min. But even if you pretend she's not here, and I don't care about her, Then you have a get that wasn't written l'shma, and a get that wasn't written l'shma is possible. But kachim, dal chulim minayu, if you're going to ignore the fact that this is for steaks, havali stomach, then it's a neutral. Ustomach sheirim, and a neutral carbon is kosher. Now, here it's gishmak. The Rav really say that if I shecht a chatos, one carbon, and I had intent for another carbon, it's possible. Yet if I shechted for a different category completely, not for carbon, for chulin, for just regular use, it's kosher. Just to remember what it says here, not the min doesn't destroy. Let me show you real quickly. This pretend is earthenware. This is a sheretz, this is a mouse. If the mouse touches right over here, touches the kli, it's dead. Touches over here, tameh or not tameh? Not tameh. Why? Because the pasuk says, "B'chol kli cheretz she'ipol mem el toichai." It has to be inside. It can be even hanging. It doesn't have to touch. If it's in the ear space of this, then everything in that is tameh. So, if I have an apple in here and the mouse is hanging, the apple is tameh. Now, what the Gemara is doing here is, what if I take another type of kli? Let's pretend this is wood. This is even, it could be glass. It could be glass, fine. But this is cheres. I put it in here. And it's sticking up. That's not important to us now. It has to be sticking up above the top, because if it's below the top, then the bad air, it's like dirty water, will flow into this kli. So it's sticking up. Okay, the ear, the dirty ear. Why is it dirty? Because there's a sheretz here. This is tameh. Let's put the sheretz nice, so you can look at you guys like that. Okay. If I take this, another, whatever this is, and I put the plum in here, this plum remains tahar. Remains tahar. Why? Because this material blocks it. But if we're going with this idea that if it's not this category, it doesn't do anything. So here you have something that's not in the same category. It shouldn't do anything. And my tumah from the mouse should penetrate right through something that doesn't do anything. Why are you looking at this and saying this is something? This is a nothing. You said that if I think about chulin, which is something else, it's a different category, it doesn't hurt us. So this is another category. We made a tremendous jump here. It's a massive jump. But for some reason, the Gemara is saying, there's another category. You know what the Gemara is going to answer? That this and this are the same min. It's the same category. Why? Because they're both kalim. They're both vessels. Yeah, one is glass, one is this. It's the same kli. That's what the Gemara is going to answer. Hope this stays here. Let's inside. Fine. Now, Vatanya. Here we are. Vatanya, toichoi. Veloy toich toichoi. Not this, but not the inside of the inside. Vafilu kli shetef. Kli shetef means something you put in the mikvah, like this glass, like wood, like metal. Cheres, you can't be mitar in the mikvah. Matzil, it saves it. It creates a mechitza, even though it's another category. So says the Gemara, Vishani. So they answered, Osu chulin etzel kachim ki mechitza etzel tanur. You're right. Ma mechitza etzel tanur lo mahanyali klal. This wall does 0 for us. Af chulin etzel kachim lo mahanyali klal. So too, by us, there's a carbon, chatos, and he's trying, and the kohen says that it's chulin, it's just ordinary meat. That's a different min, and it doesn't ruin. But over here, the point, the punchline is, over here, these two are the same min. And if it's the same min, why is it the same min? Because they're both kalim. Same min, it does make a mechitza. There's none, and I'll prove it to you. This case right over here that you see on the screen, you have an oven that you try to make a mechitza, break it down with wood, or with some sort of hide, cloth, whatever. And there's a sheretz on one side of the mechitza. Here's the whole list of shratzim you can watch while I'm reading. Yeah, it means this instead of that. Okay. Everything's tameh. Check this out. This is a nice picture you did. You have a basket that's hanging in the air. It's hanging in the air because it's a smaller basket, so it's hanging in the air. The point is that again, the rim goes above the oven or whatever it is, and it's really in really bad shape, this basket. It has a bunch of holes. It's a holy basket, and he plugged the holes with straw. So it's not a real basket. If it was a basket, then it's a kli, then it would actually create a protection for tuma. For the apples inside won't become tummy. But since it's a nothing, we don't consider it. It's lav minoi, we don't consider it's nothing. So here's a raya. Raya what? That if it's not, it's min, it doesn't hurt us. It doesn't. So if you say chulin instead of chatos, it's not the min, it doesn't hurt it. It's a good carbon. Did I skip anything? It's hanging in the ear space of the oven. If there's a sheretz inside the basket, everything inside the oven is tamei. If there's a sheretz in the oven, everything inside the basket is tamei. In other words, it doesn't create a mechitza. And Rebbe Lezer says it's tar. Why? Rebbe Lezer. We have to remember this. Rebbe Lezer is kedai. Kavachomer. Im hitza b'meisa chamor. If, check this out. You have a room. The concept of oil. You have a dead person in the left corner, and you have a basket of fruit in the right. What happens is the tumah pops up by ke'av oila and spreads out in the whole room, and memela the fruit in the right side become tamei. But what if you build a little mechitza out of wood? It works. Over here it works. She says, if a piece of wood could help shade from the mace. Mace, if you touch a mace, you're tummy for 7 days. You touch a sheretz, it's just 1 day. Different halachas. A mace is much more chomer. It can be mitama more stuff. It can be mitama kalim, etc. So certainly, this wood. So Rebbe Lezer is of the opinion that wood, a mechitza, should help and protect the tumah from transferring to the other side. No, you're wrong. Why? This is a normal thing for people to build walls in their house made out of wood. But it's not normal for somebody to build a wall inside his oven. Or inside a earthenware, a kli. That doesn't make sense. So says the Gemara, very good. So you just answered, that's a great answer. But Rezer, but Rebbe Lezer says a mechitza is chaytzit. So he says, Rebbe Lezer kavachomer kamar. You're right. Rebbe Lezer be'etzem holds, he agrees with the concept that we said. What's the concept? Nachamol to do Chazarah, that if it's not its min, it doesn't harm us. We don't care. It's a different category, we don't care. He holds like that. So why in this case right over here, he holds that it's chaytzit? Because in this case, he has a kavachomer. In a kli, he says, it shouldn't be any worse than by a mace. It's kavachomer. But the svara, the logic, he holds like Rav. And therefore, when it comes to a carbon, and you thought about a carbon that should be a different category, it should be chulin, it doesn't. Rebbe Lezer will agree. It doesn't hurt by a carbon. It hurts by a kli because he has a kavachomer. As the Gemara, so make a kavachomer by kachim. If you already have a kavachomer by a kli, make the same kavachomer by kachim. Then what? And it shouldn't work according to Rebbe Lezer. Kachim, chalim kachim, if you think about a chatas that it should be oila or reverse, it ruins it. So certainly, all of a sudden now Taisus talks about it, all of a sudden now you could say the reverse before we couldn't. Okay, but we have some sort of kavachomer here. Ella time of the Rav ki Rebbe Lezer. Oh no, another pshat completely. The reason why if I shecht a chatas with intent that it should be chulin, the reason why it's good, not because of what you said, some other reason, not because it's the same, it's a different min, different category, and that's why it's okay. Kind of Rebbe Lezer, and this is very, very common in this Masechta. Gzeres HaKasav. When you get stuck in a corner, Gzeres HaKasav. It's a pasuk. Why? It doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense. We have a pasuk. Yeah, but we got to get to the end of this. Don't realize it. My time in the Rab. It says you shouldn't profane. You shouldn't be mechalal the kachim. Kachim kachim. Achatos could ruin oila. Oila could ruin achatos. But steaks, ordinary meat, cannot ruin a carbon. Zog the Gemara. Alma. Asakra. What happened? We have Rebbe Eliezer, who says that this, I have a kavachomer, that if you put fruit in here, it's not protected. There's not a protection when it comes to kli cheres, but when it comes to kachim, it is. And the reason why it works by kachim is because I have a pasuk. Even though logically, if I think about chulin instead of a carbon, it should ruin it. Logically, what's logic? A kavachomer is logic. I can make up my own kavachomer, but I have a pasuk against it. Okay, great. So Alma also kro apke mikavachomer. Hachenami asked the Gemara, Leisi toichai. I have the word toichai. I have a vav here, extra vav, as we're going to see. Apke mikavachomer. Shouldn't the pasuk break the kavachomer? Now, if you continue on with this logic, it goes a little deeper. Why in the world did the Torah say toichai? What is toichai? What do I learn from toichai? Again, that in this case, if I have a kli within a kli, and there's a dead sheretz in the first kli, whatever is in the middle kli is tar. But wait a minute. Rebbe Elazar said that exact thing from a svara. That what? He's saying the mekavachomer, the kli should break it. If by dead people a mechitza breaks it, so too by a kli it should break it. So then why do I need a word toichai to tell me that halacha? I already know that from a kavachomer. So the Gemara says, no, I don't have the word toichai available, and that's why I need a kavachomer. In other words, the word toichai is not to tell me this halacha. The word toichai is to tell me something else. You're right. I don't need the word toichai to tell me this halacha because that I can learn from logic. If I can learn from logic, I don't need a pasuk. So what do I do with this word toichai? Very interesting halacha. What happens if you take, let's say, a donut, a rugula, and you coat it with cement. You coat it with cement. And then you touch the cement. Does the rugula become tamei? Yes or no? Anybody want to take a jab at it? What? What do you say? What do you say? No. Dry cement. It should be a mechitza l'chayra. You're not touching the thing. You touched cement. What if I take that exact rugula with cement and I put it into an oven that has a dead sheretz in there? Does the cement protect the rugula? In theory, it should become tamei. Why? Because it's in the oven. Lemaisa, inside, it's in the oven. Anything that's in the oven, the Torah says, anything that's inside should become tamei. It doesn't help to protect. It's inside the oven. You can't pretend it's not inside the oven. Touching, yes. Inside the oven, no. I would think that, like you guys are saying, that in the ear it should become tamei, kamash malon, that it does become tamei. I don't need this halacha from pasuk. I can learn it from logic, and therefore the toichai is available to tell me that toichai, this original case of a plum going into an inner kli, does not become tamei. Rav Yosef bar Ami, Rami Shinui Kodesh Hashinui Bailam. Okay, new sugya. Rav Yosef bar Ami, Rami Shinui Kodesh Hashinui Bailam. Here, so he has to give contradiction. We're continuing with, okay, till the end of the Amud here. These contradictions. That what? When you change from a chatas to oila, why is it different than changing from a Ruvain to Shimon or Mishani? And he answers. What's the question? Oh, this is a different case than we didn't have this case before. If somebody ate chaylev, sheira, it's a good carbon. L'shamayla psula, but if he went to 2 minim, that's considered 1 min. Why? Now we're switching a little bit. Okay, everything we learned on Amud Aleph flies out the window here. Achatas to achatas is considered 1 min. Achatas to oila in this sugya is considered 2 minim. Before in Amud Aleph we said it's considered 1 min, relatively speaking, because over there we're talking about achatas and oila compared to achatas and chulin. So achatas and oila is considered 1 min. They're both korbanos. Over here we're talking about achatas and achatas. That's literally 1 min, just for 2 different things. And now we're talking about achatas and oila is considered 2 minim, and that would be possible, like we said on Amud Aleph. But the Gemara is saying a different kind of outcome. Amud Aleph mino macharba, the mino loy macharba. So you see from here that if it's not the same min, it destroys. Now we're saying it's different. On Amud Aleph until now we're saying not the same min doesn't destroy. Now we're saying not the same min destroys. The mina, if it's the same group, same category, loy macharba. The problem is, what if I shecht Your chatos, Ruvain, I have in mind for Shimon. That is terrible stuff. It's possible. But if I say you Ruvain's chatos, I'm going to give it to Shimon for an oil. I'm going to shecht it for Shimon as an oil. That's kosher. Amud Beis, and now we're saying the opposite, and that's the contradiction. You see that in the same category, just different people. The bar mina macharba. It ruins it. If you say chatos for Shimon instead of Ruvain, even though it's the same chatos, ruins. It's the same min. And the answer is simple. Over there, you're going to another person. You're going to another instead of Ruvain to Shimon. That's the worst. That's a pasuk. Forget about min, not min. That's the pasuk says. In the first case, when you do chatos the chatos, it was shechted for a chatos. When you shechted for another person, you can't shechted for another person. The reason is basically it's exeris hakasov. If you're shechting, it's for you. It has to be specifically for you and not for your friend. Rav Chaviva Rami Shinui, he wants to go on to Nusagi tomorrow. I agree. Rav Chaviva Rami Shinui Bailam Atoich Toichoi. He has a question from changing ownership, from going from Ruvain to Shimon to this case right over here. Umishani, and he has an answer. What's the question? Rav Chatas Shachta Al Mishim Mechuyev Chatas Psula Al Mishim Mechuyev Ailuk Sheira Almo Demino Machriba Lav Mino Le Machriba. We just said that if he shechs the chatos for somebody that's chayav a chatos, but if he does, then it's no good. If he shechs the same chatos, but he has in mind that it should be oil, it's kosher. You see that the same category, chatos the chatos ruins it. And what about this case right over here? You have two different minim. So in two different minim, it shouldn't destroy. It says, we learned somewhere else, that even though this is a different min, the green is a different min than the cheres, it stops it. Stops the tone that we learned before, right? The same case. It's not the same min. It shouldn't stop it. Says the Gemara, it's exeris hakasov. That's the answer. What's exeris hakasov? Because it says toiche 4 times. And I learned from one of the times that this works. You're right. La lacha, another min, shouldn't stop. But the reason why this stops it, because I have a special word in the pasuk called toiche. How do I have 4 times? Because it says the word toiche twice, and as extra vav, it should say toich, not toiche. So it's 4 times. What do I learn from the 4 things? Toiche, arba toich ksivei. Toich, toichoi, umeshani. Arba toich ksivei. It says 4 times toichoi. Toich. Chad legufei. One teaches us that if there's food inside this cheres, it becomes tummy from the mouse that I showed you. V'chad legzeir shava. To say that even if the mouse doesn't touch the kli, it becomes tummy. Chad toichoi shezeh. Only if this is, should have used this to show you, but okay. If this is cheres, it works. Not if it's, let's say, made out of glass. Pretend this is cheres. And from the 4th one I learned that this is a protection. The center one is a protection. Even another min that you could put in the mikvah, matzil. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.